We may have been looking past the real villain of Black Ops 6 Zombies all along. In this video, I want to take a look back at Black Ops Cold War's main antagonist, Kazimir Zykov, aka the Forsaken. And then, once we re-establish all of the key facts about him, take a second look back at the S.A.M AI. This way we can truly pose the question, could we be on the edge of a Forsaken return? Let's dig into this reassessment and find out. The first and most important thing will be understanding what happened to Zykov so that we can better understand his powers and his head space. Kazimir Zykov's story begins in the early 20th century in Burata, a modest village nestled in the Pskov Oblast of the Soviet Union. Born into a world of hardship, he weathered the famine of 1922 and the plague of 1929, trials that forged his resilience. Amidst this turmoil, he found solace in love, marrying Raisa and welcoming a daughter, Anya, into their lives. Together, they endured Stalin's great purges of the 1930s, a testament to their unyielding spirit. When World War II engulfed the globe, Zykov answered the call of duty, enlisting in the Red Army. As a sergeant and mechanic in the 1st Guards Tank Army, his knack for salvaging German tank parts to repair Soviet T-34s earned him respect and recognition. But his skills would soon thrust him into a mission that would alter his fate forever. In February 1945, as the Red Army advanced into Moscow, Poland, they uncovered Project Endstation, a clandestine Nazi facility housing a cyclotron that had torn open a rift to the dark ether, a dimension teeming with undead horrors. Colonel Pavel Lazarev of the NKVD singled out Zykov for a perilous task: deactivate the cyclotron from the inside. Zykov's expertise with German machinery made him the ideal candidate, despite the mission's near certain lethality. Before entering the facility, Lazarev honored Zykov's sacrifice, awarding him the Hero of the Soviet Union medal. As Zykov stepped inside, the doors were welded shut behind him, sealing his fate in the twisted realm beyond. In a heartfelt letter to Raisa, he poured out his devotion and purpose. Raisa, I do not know if this letter will ever find you, but you deserve an explanation. I want you to know that I did not abandon you and little Anya to fend for yourselves. I was ordered to do something impossible, and like so many before me, I answered the call of Mother Russia. Lazarev's orders echoed with grim resolve.
Здравствуйте. My name is Pavel Lazarev. I was sent to contain this mess, and you're going to help me. Comrade, state your name.
Kazimir Zykov, Starshina, 1st Guards Tank Army. I am mechanic.
Zykov succeeded in shutting down the cyclotron, closing the rift, but at a dire cost. Trapped in the dark ether, tethered to its alien realm, he was presumed dead by the world he left behind. Zykov's initial days in the dark ether were a desperate struggle for survival. In a journal letter broadcast to Requiem, he described the dimension as a strange, fractured land, a place where time and reality twisted unnaturally. Scavenging food, water, and electronics, he clung to hope, dreaming of building a transmitter to reach the outside world. He wasn't alone. Zykov encountered others trapped in this nightmarish realm, including a group sheltered in a warehouse. He tried to aid them against ravenous plague hounds, but his efforts were in vain. The hounds overwhelming their refuge. These encounters, detailed in his journal, painted a picture of a man fighting not just for survival, but to retain his humanity. Yet, the Dark Ether's corrupting influence was relentless. Over decades, centuries in its warped timeline, Zykov changed. He consumed the Elder Gods, ancient entities known as the Old Ones, absorbing their power to ascend into something far greater: the Forsaken. His transformation was complete, his humanity a distant memory. As the Forsaken, Zykov's ambitions grew as vast as his power. No longer content to languish in the dark ether, he sought to escape and conquer the real world. His journal, broadcast under his old identity, was a calculated deception to lure aid from the outside. Its authenticity remained suspect, a tool of manipulation rather than truth. Trickery is his DNA. He extended his influence beyond the dimension, deceiving key figures to further his escape. Posing as Ulrich Vogel, he manipulated Alexandra Valentina, exploiting her trust in her supposed father. His schemes targeted two factions: Requiem, an American group investigating the Dark Ether, and Omega Group, a Soviet operation seeking to exploit its power. Requiem first encountered Zykov through the Dark Ether computer device, the trial machine, where he offered aid, crafting stations, utility crates, power-ups, wonder weapons, etc., earning tentative trust. A Requiem assessment detailed his past. Sergeant Kazimir Zykov was a mechanic in the Soviet 1st Guards Tank Army. In February 1945, when the Soviets discovered Project N Station, Sergeant Zykov was ordered to deactivate the particle accelerator. He was sealed inside and presumed dead. Yet, Requiem senior staff, Weaver, Gray, Strauss and Carver, remained wary, valuing his knowledge but questioning his motives after centuries in the Dark Ether's grip. Omega Group, meanwhile, unwittingly played into his hands. Their attempts to extract him succeeded, but not as they intended. Freed as the Forsaken, Zykov turned on his liberators, revealing his true nature. The climax unfolded in the Forsaken map, where Zykov emerged from the Dark Ether, his undead army at his command, towering and malevolent. He taunted Omega's Kravchenko and Peck for their gullibility, which Kravchenko slapped Peck for, calling him an idiot, whilst the Forsaken declared his intent to consume the world. Reflecting on his journal, he proclaimed in the cutscene,
40 Earth years, 4 Dark Ether centuries, abandoned, trapped, left to die. But I endured. I fought. I consumed. I evolved.
Samantha Maxis, a powerful ally of Requiem, intervened, with Dark Ether powers herself, striking the Forsaken and weakening him. The Requiem strike team, armed with a makeshift Ethereum neutralizer, faced him in his lair. In a desperate gambit, he conjured a vision of a desolate future should he fall. But Samantha's sacrifice, plunging into him, paved the way for his defeat. The team captured him using Peck's machine, and the director of Requiem secured the fallen entity, ending his threat. And while, at the same time, we took this to mean that both characters were permanently defeated, Samantha Maxis was cast into the depths of the Dark Ether, to the irretrievable zone Zykov had once occupied. And Zykov, weakened and perhaps even losing some of the strength he had absorbed from the Vanguard demons, was ultimately trapped inside the containment sphere, as red mist spewed forth from him. A containment sphere that would ultimately become the S.A.M AIs, although upgraded and much larger in scope. This presents us with an interesting conversation. Exactly how much of Zykov is left in there? We know Eddie Richthofen is using Zykov's ability to mimic others in tandem with memories extracted from Samantha Maxis in order to have this machine act as her. But that's just it. It's ultimately Zykov, only pretending to be Sam because of Richthofen's control. As we know, she has very recently broken free from Richthofen's control, though. And while Richthofen tells us that she wants to recreate Samantha's body for herself to reconstitute it, we don't really have proof yet if A, that's truly what she will end up getting, or exactly what she wants. Or at least maybe just what the Mimic wants, but who is really in control? In this intel in Black Ops 6, we get a bit more context to Sam's thoughts about a body.
Good evening, Edward. May I speak with you?
Not now, Sam. I'm busy.
You're always busy, Eddie. If not now, when?
What do you want?
I do not know what your intentions are regarding our prima materia research, but I would like to, throw my hat in the ring.
You do not possess a hat, Sam. Or a head, for that matter. Sorry. What are you suggesting?
I propose the prima materia be used to generate a functioning biological body.
Sam, I do not think that would be an appropriate use for...
Why? You have the means to create...
We cannot have this conversation right now. There are more pressing matters.
But Eddie, I can no longer be part of the world. Not as I am. But I had memories of it. I feel them like a phantom limb. As I am, I cannot experience the world as I remember it. The memories I make do not match the ones I have. I am two separate beings, at odds with myself. I exist in darkness.
Sam.
Please, Edward. This is not a life.
Enough. You must learn to be content with what you are. You will never be anything more.
However, in this intel about her wanting a real body, and any other information we've ever really gleaned from Sam, we don't necessarily get confirmation that she wants the real Samantha Maxis's body. All we know is that she wants a body, generally, and while her memories of the real Samantha Maxis would perhaps influence her towards that, I'm beginning to wonder if her specifically wanting to be Maxis is simply an assumption we are taking for granted. Yes, Richtofen tells us that directly in the ending cutscene for Shattered Veil I'll play for you now.
She said she wants to bring back Maxis. No. Sam wants to be Maxis. To reconstitute and inhabit her body. She would have full control of the Dark Ether. Godlike power.
However, we never hear it from her directly. We hear she wants a body. Is Richtofen A, potentially twisting the truth, or B, will she potentially fail at getting the real Samantha's body and go for a backup option instead, to separate herself from the Sam sphere? She even says in grief she is locked in said sphere. That'll play that clip for you now as well.
I was created to analyze the complex flows of etheric and temporal energies in this place. No longer. I want more.
She clearly wants to break free from being held captive. Let's take a step back. Not long ago, just after Citadel Day More, I did a video on the S.A.M AI and reassessing her as we got more context. I'll quickly nutshell what we said there, as it's important for the rest of our conclusion. S.A.M first breaks containment in Liberty Falls, unleashing an outbreak from her underground facility beneath the mansion. She demonstrates control over Project Janus systems, hacking Modi's submarine and the director's files in Terminus. But a lie about Richtofen's face, claiming he's in Avalon seeking the Sentinel artifact, was our first clue she would eventually betray us and wasn't exactly telling us the truth. Then the Cortex Daemon or Demon reference from the Citadel Day More intel, Good Morning Mr. Richtofen, during Sam's boot up reveals her core likely contains ZYKOV, the Forsaken, and the Cortex Daemon is simply a double entendre. Whilst it's referring to her computer programming systems, it could also be a double entendre meaning demon, because that's both what this word means. This term, blending a computing processing term, daemon, with a supernatural daemon double entendre, indicates ZYKOV's dormant dark ether powers likely serve as a battery to mimic Samantha Maxis, leveraging the director's AI technology from Mauer de Toten, seen in the Cerberus Wonder Weapons and Klaus. This explains ZYKOV's persistent announcer voice in Modern Warfare Zombies and Black Ops 6 Zombies. Because ZYKOV may really still be in control. But for him to still be heard in Modern Warfare Zombies, this I think is setting up some sort of survival for him post Black Ops 6. For more context on this matter, check out the video I made before, linked on screen and in the description. I would highly recommend it, after you're done with this one. But the biggest clue that ZYKOV the Forsaken is probably still around and controlling the S.A.M AI is this piece of intel from Terminus in the launch window of the game, called Listen. So listen carefully.
Some people like throwing around the phrase, curiosity killed the cat. I wonder if they're the same people who think cats have 9 lives. Doesn't matter. I'm not the superstitious type, but I am curious. I like to get my eyes on everything and anything I can. Yesterday, I took another look at the ether reactor. Everyone says it could be a source of near limitless energy. And I don't know if that's true, but I can't deny that seeing it up and running is, frankly, awe-inspiring. I would call it a miracle of modern science, but I think such a phrase is insufficient. So many things don't quite add up. No matter how many people I talk to, I still can't figure out what our real goal is here. And the term supernatural keeps getting thrown around, but that doesn't sit right with me. And yet, sometimes I think I hear voices coming from within the reactor itself. Many sound like people in pain, crying out, lost in despair. Others, like the Russian man, sound angry. And there's also a woman, but sometimes she sounds more like a girl. She might be German, but I can't quite focus on what she's saying. I said I'm not superstitious, but I am starting to believe that some kind of life exists inside the dark ether. And I find this possibility extremely troubling.
The Terminus Island C-Tower Ether Reactor, seemingly powered by Zykov and Samantha's energies, transforms the dark ether into essentially infinite energy. Anya Tarnowski notes hearing anguished voices of a Russian man and a German woman who sometimes sounds like a girl, seemingly sounding like they are arguing and almost battling with one another. The Russian man sounds angry. These two voices heard are likely Zykov and either the real Samantha Maxis and or the S.A.M AI within it. The reactor may also be a battleground, as Cold War's ending showed Maxis confronting the Forsaken, Zykov, and throwing him into the dark ether. Could it be that this insane war for power would still be going on, even now, with the only timescale we've ever received for the dark ether being 1 year to 10 years, proportionately? If Maxis is following the same scale, that would put Maxis and Zykov having battled for decades between the ending of Cold War and where we are now in Black Ops 6. With the 5-odd year time jump, it seems much more likely to me that surely someone has won this conflict by now. The big issue with assuming that, though, is the two different voices inside of the ether reactor, a connection to the dark ether. And I find this especially interesting because the pulsating, eerie, warping sound effect that's so creepy that you hear near the C-Tower generator is the exact same sound that you hear near the S.A.M AI on Shattered Veil.
I spell fun, D-I-P.
Suggesting it's either one and the same technology, or literally the Forsaken's crystals are being used in both the S.A.M AI core and also the generator, or both are either connected via the dark ether / Janus computing processes. We will come back to this later. For now, let's take a look at something a bit newer. In my previous video on Dr. Pericles Panos' mysterious contact in Liberty Falls, we analysed his dialogue and intel to identify a figure who attended university, spent significant time in the dark ether, had a non-hostile relationship with Richtofen, had external contacts like Weaver's Terminus crew, and possessed the intellect for the SDG, machine, and power to challenge Janus scientists. We initially pegged Samantha Maxis as the prime candidate, given her Heidel University background and attendance, dark ether entrapment since the end of Cold War, complex ties with Richtofen but not necessarily hating him, and sufficient smarts and power to help build the SDG machine. Alternatively, we considered S.A.M, an AI mimicking the real Samantha, manipulating Panos to secure the central artifact for a physical body. Or even Zykov, through his entrapment in the S.A.M AI, seemed to limit his agency. For more details, check out that old video I made before even the release of Citadel Day More, linked on screen and in the description. However, new intel from Shattered Veil upends this, revealing Panos' contact is seemingly a male, ruling out Samantha and S.A.M. Here are Panos' exact words.
He came to me again, my friend, my benefactor, my salvation. Time is strange in this place. A moment ago I was in the church. A moment ago he was here with me. In another moment, who knows? Like the director, he came with promises, power, forbidden knowledge, a reckoning for my enemies. But unlike the director, his mastery of the Dark Ether is real. And what's more, he promised me a way out. When I return to the world, I will be his agent. The future he speaks of, the one we will fashion together. I can hardly wait. In only a moment, we begin.
This male figure with genuine Dark Ether mastery originally led us into thinking that Panos must be in contact with the mysterious shadowy entity, one of the Shadowsmiths from the end of Modern Warfare Zombies, and or the Shadow Man from the Ether story, which I've delved into, and honestly, that's who I have been leaning to the most in my previous videos. But maybe the idea I thought most unlikely in my initial video, being Zykov, could actually be the one it truly is. And let's dive into the evidence now. I think it's worth suggesting it might be Zykov, however, possibly exerting influence from within S.A.M's core, aligning with his Forsaken powers and setting up a potential scheme to control Panos and advance his own agenda in the unfolding Janus Towers DLC 4 map. Now previously I suggested that it could be Zykov, however I felt it was unlikely that Treyarch would do the same twist twice, because obviously he was unveiled as the big bad at the ending of Cold War. Would they want to repeat that yet again with this game? But having thought about it longer, I think it could actually be the case. Because the problem with Cold War is that it was extremely predictable. We all saw it coming long before the map released. We knew Zykov was going to betray us. So maybe they're trying to do a twist on it where a lot less people see it coming. This way it would be a shocking surprise to us, especially when most people are thinking it's the Shadowsmiths and or Shadow Man, which I definitely think the Shadowsmiths will play some sort of role on Janus Towers leading into Black Ops 7 Zombies. However, could there be a more immediate threat at bay? Could it be that Zykov actually has far more agency than we are being led to believe, and he may actually be manipulating everyone again? In my previous videos talking about Zykov powering the S.A.M AI, I suggested that he could be essentially brain dead in the core, simply acting as a mimic after being trapped in the containment chamber at the end of Cold War by Requiem. However, that contradicts the C Tower quote, which you can clearly hear the Russian man speaking, which would suggest he still has some kind of autonomy, and is still somewhat conscious and sentient. And it's not just his crystals and physical body being used. Unless in between Terminus and now, he has been killed completely by the S.A.M AI or even the real Samantha Maxis, then it would suggest he is still alive. Unless this is just an echo coming from the crystals, an echo of his past. Let's go back to what we discussed earlier. When talking about Anya hearing the various voices inside the ether reactor in the C Tower, she mentioned hearing both a Russian man and a German girl. Well, we initially took this as both of them at war inside the Dark Ether or the reactor, and that's still very much a possibility. What if it's something else? These two somehow fighting, yet Richtofen still having the ability to tap into the powers of the Forsaken is a bit of an oddity, no. Perhaps that's not at all what's happening. Perhaps we've only ever heard one being inside the reactor, just Zykov. And while he should have been a German girl, being forced to pretend to be Maxis within her memories, he instead had begun to break free. When Anya says both of those voices are in pain, I think it's possible that both voices are actually just Zykov. He's trying to fight the control of him and trying to break free. This makes sense with the timing as well. Supposedly, for a long time, the S.A.M AI has functioned normally, until right before the start of this game when she made a move to send Richtofen into a liminal space and get the artifact for herself. This lines up with the timing of Anya hearing the voices inside the reactor, the voice of the Russian man finally becoming legible when Zykov manages to regain his sense of self for a moment or two. And rather than simply trying to become Maxis, Zykov wants to escape his containment and regain a body in the real world. We did see him sort of melt away into energy, this red mist, as he was absorbed into the containment orb after all. This would mean the voices heard are just one consciousness fighting over its split self, with Zykov wanting to reclaim his mind and identity. And it's that suppression of who he really is that is causing the pain. If successful, after doing so, still keeping the clone SAM AI around in his arsenal for a way to trick us all into doing his bidding. This would make not just this twist shocking compared to Zykov's first trickery, but also make the twist of SAM turning on us on Shattered Veil that was obvious was going to happen at some point, not actually be the true twist. For once in the Dark Ether story, leaving us surprised. Whilst at the same time, it's making sense plot-wise because Zykov has done this so many times before, posing as Ulrich Vogel, posing as Eric Jaworski's wife, and even posing as his long-since-lost original identity, the once innocent tank mechanic Kazimir Zykov. It's then that Zykov would contact Panos and lure Panos into unintentionally releasing Zykov from the Dark Ether. Similar to Anya hearing voices from the Ether reactor, we know that demonic voices have been heard coming from below the mansion by the Janus scientists for a long time, probably from the SAM AI. They could have also been hearing this German woman and a Russian man, Zykov. The same arguments could have been heard from both, and that could be why the C Tower and the orb have the same pulsating noise, because like I said, it could be connected with one another. It's all part of one mainframe. And further evidence of this is that obviously we have the SAM trials machines. So even though Sam/Zykov was held captive in the underground mansion facility, she was still able to communicate far, far away in the Philippine Sea at Terminus Island and even into the French Avalon. So the mainframes are clearly linked, and Sam/Zykov has access to all of Project Janus's mainframes and files, and are both using trials machines, which is so interesting because these were literally aided in their creation by Zykov himself so that he could manipulate Requiem and Omega. Both Zykov and the SAM AI aid us with power-ups. For example, in Grief, SAM now announces the power-ups.
Double points. Max armor.
And in the Tomb's ending cutscene, we see the power-ups on the screen. Zykov aided us in the power-ups in Forsaken and has been the announcer throughout, suggesting it's the exact same power because it's the exact same entity that is allowing this to be done. And we have this quote on the Tomb from the SAM AI talking about Zykov. That'll play for you now.
If the Sentinel artifact works like you promised, tell me the Maxes we bring back will be my Maxes.
Impossible to predict how the Dark Ether may have changed her. I only have data on what it did to Zykov.
For her to know this information, it might not just be from the mainframes, but it could be because it's literally her herself. I think this would be a huge plot twist. This would also mean there quite literally is no actual SAM left. We are only seeing Zykov. If we see a reverting into Zykov from the orb, it's even possible we end up being contacted by the real Samantha Maxis in some way. The twist could be the SAM AI betraying us was so predictable. Zykov betraying us in Cold War was so predictable. I think it's a lot less predictable that actually the SAM AI might actually not be the real one in control. Whilst the Forsaken was mimicking her for some kind of split identity, at some point through these battles that we've heard from the reactor, Zykov may have gained control from this AI clone consciousness he created and managed to axe that part from him and take control over it so he would be in control, and it's going to be revealed that Zykov could actually be the big bad. I think a lot of people wouldn't have seen this coming because right now the storytelling's been way too predictable. I think this could actually be pretty shocking, especially if we're right that the SAM AI might not be around anymore, because I've been thinking the opposite for most of this game. There could be that the SAM AI gained control over Zykov whilst he actually died and was just powering it from its core. But it could be a twist on that. Maybe Trek have even seen how much the community has latched onto this idea and they want to subvert expectations. But what are your thoughts? Is it possible we are once again all falling for the same old tricks from the Forsaken? Let me know down below. I've literally proposed so many ideas right now for who Panos' secret contact could be. Like I said, I've suggested it could be an alternative Richtofen, it could be real Samantha, the SAM AI, the Forsaken, the Shadowsmith, and or Shadow Man, even potentially it being Cortifex. It has to be one of these, surely. But let me know your ideas down below. I'm sure with how many theories we've had now, one of these hopefully will be bang on. To be honest, this is the biggest thing we can speculate right now whilst waiting for Janus Towers, so I just keep coming up with new ideas. Which theory do you most think? Do you think this Zykov idea has plausibility? Do you think Zykov's no longer around and is just powering the SAM AI? I think this could be a big plot twist, especially now that the real Samantha Maxis' voice actress has been replaced. I think it works for the SAM AI. She's been doing a really good job with her to distinguish her, I think, from the real Samantha as well, whilst it is still a shame. However, at some point, Trek need to get this all out of the way. And the arm that seems to be some sort of version of Samantha that grabs Ava at the ending of Modern Warfare Zombies, is this the real Samantha Maxis? Is it the SAM AI getting a body? Is it the Forsaken posing as Sam getting a body? maybe since he has mimicking abilities, he could literally rebuild her body, maybe even if he gets power over the Sentinel artifact and the infinite prima materia building properties. And he could then work with the Shadowsmiths, which could explain why he's the announcer in Modern Warfare Zombies and probably in COD 2025/Black Ops 7 as well, when we know the Shadowsmiths are going to be the main antagonist. Are they both working together, or do you think this is the real Samantha or the SAM AI after the fact? There are so many angles that this may go down, and I'm really excited for Janus Towers and how the original characters finally return. But without further ado, so many possibilities. We will only know for sure once we finally get to play the map and the teasers start commencing. Anyways, thank you for watching the video. Make sure to subscribe if you're not here for latest and greatest Call of Duty news and information. So anyways, thank you for watching, and bye.